Welcome back to Morning Trade Live. We got Bitcoin rallying last week, not quite to the all-time high as stocks are, but a good bounce. Let's talk price action expectations and the status of the crypto world post-ETFs. Now that we've had time to simmer, Steven McClurg back with us, head of U.S. Asset Management at Coinshares. Steven, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Oliver, thanks for having me back.
Hey, I think last time we spoke, you were still with Valkyrie, so catch us up post-integration in the deal. I know that Coinshares had a plan to buy Valkyrie post-ETFs. How does that affect the product suite that you guys are offering to investors today?
Yeah, it's actually been quite good. We've fully integrated all of our ETFs over to Coinshares. We're still going through the process of continuing to change management there, but we've had a lot of support, and we're keeping all of our ETFs. As a matter of fact, we'll probably launch a few more.
Ooh. Any hints? Any previews?
No hints.
Well, the whole community is waiting for indications from the SEC on what they think about Ether. Are you guys tracking that? Well, you have any strong views on that?
Yeah, we have been tracking that. We haven't really took the time to file for an Ethereum ETF in the last year, as everybody else did. We've just paused. We didn't think the SEC would approve it. It looks like we're going to be right, depending on what happens in May. But we'll see what happens in the future. I think there's still a lot of wood to chop from regulators before anything on the ETF side of Ethereum gets sorted out.
What's missing in the crypto ETF world? I mean, there's Bitcoin miners, there's the spot funds. There are, you guys have a levered strategy. What's the piece that's missing right now?
Well, I think there's a lot more in the terms of other blockchains that could come to market. Again, it's in the U.S. We're still trying to sort through what's a security, what's not. You already have a lot of ETPs in Europe that track other cryptocurrencies and indexes. We're a little behind in the U.S., but I think it'll all get sorted out in the next couple of years. So we'll probably see a few more come to market, like Ethereum potentially.
Okay. All right. So we'll keep our ear to the ground on what you guys are working on. You've had some pretty good creativity on the crypto front. I've watched several of your funds here and used them in kind of assessing what's going on in the world of crypto. One of them is the WGMI. We're going to make it. My kind of joke has been that if the halving doesn't rally like normal, there may be some folks that don't make it. But we did talk with a few miners the last couple weeks, and they generally remain pretty positive. But it does seem that a few of these are, like we talked to the team at Hut 8, and I mean, like, they've really clamped down. They are kind of in the trenches a little bit, making sure they're operating as efficiently as possible. What do you see right now, Steven, on how the miners are operating?
Yeah, I think a lot of the pubco miners are actually going to do quite well. Most of them have been through a cycle or two or three in some cases. They have been preparing for this particular cycle. So a lot of them have very low expenses, really efficient operations, and will probably grow during this cycle. Probably the miners that are going to be in a little bit more trouble are some of the newer ones that are small to mid-size, that may have purchased equipment on the high end of the scale, not locked in good energy prices, maybe have even started their operations in the last 4 years. Those are the ones that we're more worried about. But I do see a good time to buy miners again over the summer.
Well, you have the chart. I'll tell you what, it's a fun-looking chart in WGMI, because you've got this like coiled spring thing going on where you've got lower highs, but then you've got higher lows. So the technical take would be that there's a big move coming, like basically any minute within the next, you would think, at least month or so. Any thoughts on which way that goes, Steven? Because I see some of your Bitcoin macro views are that there might be a little more softness left.
Yeah, look, we're part of the broader economic cycle where, we're approaching sell in May and go away. It usually holds, especially in a time like this where we've just had a Bitcoin spot ETF come to market. We've had quite a rally in Bitcoin this year. And usually the institutional investors and a lot of other investors take the summer off. So we see lower volume, lower buys, and the market usually comes back again in September, October. But that being said, if we do see some softness in the overall market, including Bitcoin, including the miners, summer is usually a really good time to buy the miners after the halving.
So you think we might have a little bit of a lull and then a pick back up? When does that pickup need to kick in, Steven, price-wise? Where is the pain threshold for like the aggregate miner level? Are we able to do that math? Do we know? As an example, the CEO we talked to, theirs was around 30K.
Yeah, that's right. Most of the miners have worked out somewhere in the $30,000 to $40,000 Bitcoin range, where that is as low as they want to go. I don't see Bitcoin even going that low again. So if we do go into the 50s, that'll probably be a really good time to buy. But again, we may not. Inflation is a strong issue right now, and a lot of people are buying Bitcoin to protect themselves against inflation. So whether or not we even see 50,000 Bitcoin could be completely off the table given the inflation buying.
So you'd be pretty surprised if it sounds like it's not in your framework that we'd be going down to test like mining break-even levels.
No, I really don't think we do, pending some world event that we've seen over the weekend. But that looks to have pretty mild effects on the market.
What did you think about the last couple months here? Stocks pulled back in April. Bitcoin came off the highs for a couple months, basically kind of aligning with NVIDIA's last peak, the kind of growth trade peak. Stocks came back to records. BTC kicked in last week. For all the narrative that it's an inflation hedge, it basically broke back out when inflation came in light. Steve, it loved the light CPI. What's up with that?
Yeah, well, even lighter CPI, we're still growing at a clip. We're not in a deflationary point yet, and even Powell's comments saying that that current rates are restrictive, it actually opposes what the Chicago Fed data is showing, which is dates are accommodative, meaning where rates are today, it's actually lower than it should be to battle inflation. So inflation should continue to creep higher. Of course, risk assets generally perform well in inflationary environments. So, inflation higher than 3%, which we fully expect. So whether it's stocks, whether it's Bitcoin, we do fully expect that higher inflation will continue to drive risk assets higher.
The timeline for performance post-halving, Steven, what are your sort of expectations? Because every other one, and look, we only had a few, only had three, and the price has always boomed, though. Sometimes it softens up a little bit. In the crypto community, what's your sense? Like, what do people hope we hit? Because the 1 year post-halving, it's always been up. We're a couple months in. So, like, how are we tracking, and what's the community looking for? What would be considered a post-halving win for Bitcoin this cycle?
Yeah, this cycle's been a little bit odd compared to the other cycles that I've been through. Usually you do get a stronger pullback after the halving, because there's a strong expectation that Bitcoin prices are going to go to the moon post-halving. So people, of course, load up, and then there's a little bit of softness before it really picks up again. The Bitcoin spot ETF has really changed that, in my opinion, of this halving, just given when it got approved. So it has caused this cycle to be a little bit different. So even though in typical cycles I would expect, say, 50,000 Bitcoin soon, and hope for that because I want to buy more, we may not see it. There's still strong demand for Bitcoin spot ETFs. Demand for ours has grown, not shrunk, and it's steadily grown. So we just don't know if we're gonna see that massive pullback that we usually see.
Give me some insight on the flows. Here's the final thought, Steven, as you mentioned there. Where are you seeing? Is it all spot ETFs? Are the other kind of Bitcoin proxy fund plays losing flows as a result? What's that trade-off look like?
Yeah, right now we're probably seeing a lot more flows from a relative basis into Bitcoin spot, whether it's ours or others. Miners have slowed down. I do expect that to switch again, probably in the middle of the summer, where more financial advisors are going to be interested in the ecosystem funds or the mining funds, as opposed to pure Bitcoin spot. But right now, the demand's been strong. I just don't know if it's gonna slow down anytime, and there's still a wall of money coming in. It's just coming in slowly. It didn't come in all at once after the launch, as some people expected.
All right. Steven, thanks for the chat and the update. Appreciate your framework and sharing it with us. We'll be in touch.
Always appreciate you having me, Oliver.
Thank you. Steven McClurg, head of U.S. Asset Management at Coinshares.